Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast Constructive Conversations powered by Ark Group. I'm Meghna Gummi, CEO of Ark Group. In this podcast, we deep dive into topics related to the real estate, infrastructure, and construction industries from expertise in the field. Today, I'm honored to have a very special guest with me, Mr. M. Nanda Kishore Garu, MD of Ramky Estates and Farms Private Limited, a renowned part of the Ramky Group. Mr. Nanda Kishore Gadu got his master's degree in IIM and advanced studies in Harvard Business School. His career spans over 35 years in the realty sector, IT services, and product sectors. He joined the Ramky Group in 2007 and has been a vital has played a vital role in the growth of the Ramky realty sector and also shaping their portfolio, and is today the managing director of Ramky Group. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me on this podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
So we'll dive into it right away. How did you get into the real estate sector? Like, you were from the fintech background. So from there, how did you, find your place in the real estate sector? And you have been in this sector for a long time, 15 plus years. So how was your journey?
Yeah, I think it was never planned. It was just sheer coincidence. So I started off my career in the mining sector, and then I dabbled a little bit in the IT sector, and I was with IBM India. Then after that, it so happened that I met the promoter of Ramky Group, and then rest all happened.
Just happened. So when you joined Ramky Group, how big was the company then, and till where is it now today?
I think when I joined Ramky Group, the real estate vertical was pretty small, and we had one large project in Gachibowli. But the company always had big plans for real estate, but the focus of the founder was more towards the environmental engineering and the infrastructure sector, and less on the real estate at that point of time, because he saw greater potential in those sectors. And so only after 2008, there was a greater focus on real estate, and that's when the real estate sector started growing.
Okay. So Ramky Group is known to be a big group, and real estate is one part of it. So can you just tell us in general what other things that Ramky Group is a part of?
Ramky Group was founded by Mr. Ayodhya Reddy, Honorable Member of the Parliament, and he is a civil engineer himself, and he started off the entire Ramky Group. He's the first generation entrepreneur. And the largest business segment of the Ramky Group is the environmental engineering and waste management business, which is under the brand name RE Sustainability. And this is among the top in the industry in that particular sector. And it's I think by large the number one in the country, and they are the pioneers in this country in that space. And then we have the Ramky Infrastructure Limited, which is the EPC arm of the group, and also it has the developer business as well, and it's a listed company. Then we have Ramky Estates, which is the real estate arm, and then we have a life sciences company into pharmaceutical APIs.
So broadly, it's a big group.
Yeah, it's a large. It's I think something which we as Indians can be really proud of, considering not just the sheer size of business, but the sectors in which it is operating. Some of the toughest, I would say, sectors, particularly the environmental engineering and waste management, and we have global presence across several countries. And that's I think it's a great achievement.
Yeah, but that's amazing. So just talking about the real estate sector going forward. So Ramky started off only in Hyderabad, and then you spread to different parts of the country, where I believe you're in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and other parts of South India as well. So like, how did you diversify into different parts of the country, and what kind of a difference do you see in markets? Like, how is Hyderabad different to Bangalore or Chennai or other parts?
Actually, frankly, the real estate sector started in Bangalore. The promoter started real estate in Bangalore, and then migrated to Hyderabad in that space. But then, as the company was headquartered here in Bangalore, so we grew much bigger in Hyderabad, and there was lot more focus here. And then we moved to again back to Bangalore. We started doing projects there. We started doing projects in Chennai as well, and we also had projects in Vizag. So currently we are operating in these four cities. And when you ask me how the markets are different in these four locations, of course Chennai is a fairly conservative market, pretty steady. If you go by the volume of business also, it is one-fourth of Bangalore in terms of the number of units consumed in the city. The market size is pretty small, but it's a steady, very steady market. And Bangalore obviously is much more dynamic and with lot more volume. So you can see, I think annually we see close to 75,000-80,000 units getting consumed in Bangalore. That is what is predicted for this year. And the market is also growing consistently, and with a lot of interest from the ITs and the employment growing there, we see a lot more consumption in Bangalore. Hyderabad again is a very fast growing market, but you see a lot more spikes in Hyderabad compared to Bangalore or Chennai. Vizag, of course, is a very small market, so it has been a difficult market for us as well, because of again, that's a conservative and a very small market. But I think the major markets in South India are going to be Bangalore and Hyderabad.
Bangalore and Hyderabad. So obviously different situations and circumstances are what changes the market situation for every city. But what do you think in general, what are the factors that affect how a market is going on in Bangalore or Hyderabad or Chennai?
I think end of the day, if you see, it all depends on how the employment scenario is going to change. Eventually, it's the economy which drives the growth of real estate. I always say that when the economy is growing, the real estate sector is the last to benefit.
Yeah.
And when it starts receding, the real estate is the first to get affected.
Yeah.
So naturally the general economy, because at the end of the day, if you look at it, the surplus income or the surplus from the economy flows into the real estate.
Yeah.
So even if you take an individual family, it's only when they have surplus, all other needs are met, then you see money going into real estate. So that is how it happens. So in that sense, I think the key aspect here is that Bangalore and Hyderabad, if you see, it is the growth of the IT sector which has been driving the real estate growth. At the same time, the office space absorption is what is driven by the employment generation. You see a lot more IT jobs coming back to India, and that is where the office space absorption happens, and that leads to absorption of residential real estate, and then you will have the spillover effects in terms of retail, in terms of other real estate products which happen. So primarily it is one, the office space, or I would say the employment generation, and second, it is the migrant population. The local population constitutes a very small part of the growth for real estate. It is the migrant population which constitutes the biggest part or the size of the demand creation. So these are the two major factors. And third, what we have seen is that now people are looking more at experiential living. So that is where you see people now moving from smaller houses to larger houses.
Yeah.
You see people moving from non-gated standalone buildings to gated communities. And even in retail, you see people are preferring luxury, people are preferring experience. So I think that experiential living has now driven a new, I think, real estate growth within the sector.
It's not a want anymore, it's a need.
That's true. So it's changing, and this is changing also because I think if you see the new age customer, their expectations are different.
Yeah.
They are not just looking at four walls, they are not looking at a cozy home, they are looking at a lot more other amenities and facilities which they want to evaluate when choosing a property.
Yeah.
So that's become very important. And if you see, the average age of real estate buyer is around 34, 35 today. I'm sure it is going down drastically.
Reduce, yeah.
It is going down drastically, and I'm sure, I think by in another 5 to 7 years, we might see around 26, it come down to 26, 27 years, which is, I think, a significant shift.
Oh, yeah. So in all these years, in like 15 years of real estate, what kind of customer behavior did you see changing? Other than the fact that, obviously, like you mentioned, that people prefer gated communities and, or want more luxury than smaller spaces. But in general, what kind of a trend shift did you see, or what is it that we can predict also? Like now you've predicted that, in a few years, 26-year-olds are the ones who are going to buy an apartment. So we have to cater to them. So in the last decade, what was the kind of shift that you've noticed?
See, one thing is going to happen is that you will see more and more specific categorization that will happen within the segment itself. If I were to take residential segment, within that you will see student housing emerging as a class. You will see co-living for young professionals emerging as a class. You will see rental housing emerging as a class. You will see senior living emerging as a class.
Yeah.
You will see elderly care emerging as a class. So it's going to get a lot more sliced and diced, the entire demand, and you will see that you will see intergenerational homes. You will find communities where you will have, say, 1 or 2 towers which are catering to the senior living, and there are others which are catering to the general. So you will see lot more changes happening over these years, because the consumer preference have become more specific. There are youngsters who don't want to cook, they don't want to do all their household chores themselves. So they want some concierge services, they want all those support services. So you will see a lot more slicing and dicing happening within the sector. So this is one major shift which we are going to see as we go along.
As we go along, yeah. I mean, that'll be interesting to see that which will shine, because different cities also, we see that, Bangalore has done very well with co-living. Whereas Hyderabad still picking up. It hasn't, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yes.
So all these trends to see it shifting will be an interesting thing for developers to understand and try to plan accordingly.
So, and I think also people want more and more use of technology inside the homes.
Yeah.
They want smart homes. I think smart home was earlier just a jargon or a marketing gimmick, but now you see customer really expecting smart homes. When they talk of smart homes, they want everything to be technology driven, IoT driven inside the home. So I think we are seeing a lot of change happening that way. So, and people are preferring and they're ready to pay premium for quality. They're ready to pay a premium for reliability. And one major thing that I have seen is that because of the internet or whatever, the customer awareness levels have become very high. They are more aware. They know what to expect. They know what are their rights, and they don't mind expressing that in a very.
I mean, it's a good thing that there's more awareness also, that people know what they're buying and what they're getting themselves into. So when you decide to execute a project or to pick up a location, etc., other than the fact how the market is doing, what are the considerations that you make? Like, on what basis do you decide that, okay, this is an area or this is a project that we can execute successfully, and what type also? Like, you said there's so many subcategories also and everything. So what is the thought process behind development of a particular project?
I think primarily there should be a strategic fit. So every organization has its own strengths and where it wants to operate in. So fundamentally that strategic fit should be there in terms of the product, in terms of the size, in terms of the scale, and also it should be something where the returns that you expect, those primary cutoffs are met. So first is the strategic fit. Then once you see that strategic fit is there, then you have to understand what kind of a product would do in that market. And if you are operating in a red ocean where so much of competition is there, then how do you differentiate yourself? So that will determine again what you need to do. How do I differentiate myself? How do I set myself apart and appeal to the customer? So that is where your product expectation also changes. So what exactly you are going to design, and then you look for those USPs which will draw the customer to you. And after these are met, then you have to play to the local flavor. See, in Bangalore, you don't focus so much on Vastu as you would do it in Hyderabad.
Absolutely.
Okay, so in Chennai it could be something else.
Yeah.
So you have to look at what is the local flavor, and then the most important thing nowadays is how do I kind of appeal to the younger generation. See, end of the day, you have to see which is the segment that you are or the target TG you are catering to, and you have to see what are their expectations,
Yeah.
what are their preferences. So that is yet another aspect. Sustainability, for example, now people are ready to pay a premium for sustainable homes.
Yeah.
Earlier, it used to be just a what do you call buzzword to
Now they're actually looking at it because they know
people are
what,
looking at people
yeah.
are looking at, and they're ready to pay that premium for sustainable products.
Yeah. So, would you say could you give an example of one of your projects that is like, that stood out or was special to you that you've executed in the past years?
Yeah, one of the I think we have done Ramky Estates has done several landmark projects, and the best part of it was that the Ramky Estates always focused on the segment where you deliver value, and we never got into uber luxury kind of homes, but we were always there in that category where the demand exists and where we are able to make the design functional and meet the requirements. But one particular project which gave me personally a lot of satisfaction is a small villa project called the Huddle, which we did in Discovery City, Tukuguda. So this was built with a concept of, so the name Huddle came, it's like you're all together.
Yeah.
So what we did, the entire project, we broke it down into individual parcels of homes which are all looking into each other like a huddle. So you will have around 7 clusters of villas, and each having its own open areas, each having its own open park. So it was like a community within a community kind of a concept, and that came out very well, and it was very well received in the market. And that was one, I think it was a fantastic, conceptually that came out very strong.
Any bad experiences over the years?
Yeah, I think in real estate you can't be working for 15 years and not having bad experiences. We did our mistakes, but luckily we never did any major mistakes. We did mistakes in terms of, I must say, not choosing the right pricing, or sometimes we undersold, sometimes we oversold. Those kind of things we have done, but nothing great, any mistake from a design perspective, because we have very robust systems. Any design, it has to pass through several layers of scrutiny. So that way we were always there. But yes, there were a couple of projects where we could have enhanced our profitability, but I think we were not smart enough to do that.
But so the Ramky Group being in other parts of sustainability, does that also impact Ramky Estates in any way?
Yes, it does, because if you see the Ramky Group's logo, it is towards sustainable growth. So naturally, sustainability as the core is the core of our philosophy. So we are, in fact, doing several projects where they are IGBC rated, and we genuinely mean to do projects which are sustainable. So we are using sustainable materials wherever possible. We are also using construction demolition waste, and we are one of our sister company, they are doing recycling and doing aggregates and these kind of products which we are using in our projects.
That's amazing. So as a developer, different markets are different. So do you predict a slowdown of a market? Because currently everyone's saying that Hyderabad market is slowed down a little bit, but whereas other markets are doing well, other parts of the other states. So how do you plan for this? Or do you really think it's slowed down, and what is your prediction for 25?
I think, I think real estate, like any other industry, will have its own cycles, and there will be slowdowns. So we cannot expect a bull run through and through.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of how long the bull run lasts. So that's how it is. So slowdown is a part and parcel of the game, and that's where you look at spreading your portfolio as much as possible, both in terms of product variations as well as in terms of geography, so that if Hyderabad is slow, Bangalore will support you. If Bangalore is slow, Hyderabad will support you, and that is how you distribute your projects across multi locations.
Yeah.
So that overall, as a company, as a portfolio, your thing still keeps going. So it's a part of our overall package that we have to expect there will be slowdown in some market, but how do you even out your cash flows without allowing any project to get stuck? So when it comes to Hyderabad, frankly speaking, there has been a slight slowdown in terms of the volume uptick, but going forward, I see this continuing for a while. But Hyderabad has a long and very big story out there, and the way the city is growing and being the focal city in Telangana, I am sure this city is going to attract a lot more investments. You will see a lot more employment generation, and if you see, one very good indicator is the commercial office space absorption, which has really picked up. So the next this is the leading indicator for residential sales to pick up. So I think usually there is a 1.5 year gap between the two. So I see residential sales again picking up soon. Maybe it will take a little while, but Hyderabad will do well in the residential sector. And also I think one very key factor here is, if you really see the earlier the whole demand was if you look at the size of the market, it was like a pyramid. So you had the low income, then the lower middle income. Now this pyramid is slowly transforming and changing into a hexagon. So the lower middle income is bulging, and that is where the demand is coming for housing. And these are the people, the lower income people, unfortunately they do not have the home finance available to them. That credit is not available to them, and that's why though there is a need, but they don't constitute demand. But this lower middle income and middle income, they are now growing, and that is what is going to constitute demand. And that is where the highest amount of demand is going to come in the years to come. And if you really see our what you call the total mortgage to our GDP is like 12%, whereas in China it is 37%. So if you see in that sense, the mortgage rates are very, very low in India in terms of the volume of mortgage that we are seeing. So there is going to be a lot more demand for housing, because end of the day people want quality living.
Absolutely.
And the nuclear households that we see. So the number of nuclear households are growing constantly,
like a lot,
and it is expected that we will touch like 38 crore households by 2030. Now so you need
huge
38
number.
crore homes. So all this is going to constitute demand, and this is going with the kind of urbanization that is happening with it's expected we are expected at 40% urbanization by 2030. Now all these are going to constitute demand. So I see. So, and which are the urban centers in the country? I think still we have the same 7-8 cities which continue to keep growing, right? So I see that there cannot be a situation where demand will fall for a prolonged period. Maybe you'll have blips here and there, but I don't see a challenge.
Will still be like good. It'll stabilize at some point of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think Hyderabad's seen a lot of ups and downs, where there've been a very good up and then suddenly a down and then an up. So I think the market stabilization is what everyone's looking for.
And I think also one very key factor which we all should take note of is that so many national level developers are stepping into Hyderabad, and that's a very good sign, because that shows that market is maturing. And that's where you will see that a lot more innovation coming into the industry. You will see a lot more visibility coming to the city. Because I remember 10 years ago, people sitting in Mumbai, the financial capital, nobody was willing to look at investments in Hyderabad because they never got the returns. But when you have big names stepping in, I think you will start attracting eyeballs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that augurs well for the industry.
Absolutely. So you said that middle income is what is like growing in number, and you know that you've not always seen the luxury, more value to the product than luxury to the product. So we're seeing a lot of big size apartments or villaments, etc. coming in Hyderabad. So what's your opinion on that? Like, is it something that's sustainable, or is it something that there's a very good demand for it?
I think there is demand for it, and there will be demand for it. You look at Gurgaon. So we read somewhere recently that there was an apartment which was sold at 1,50,000 rupees a square feet. So you look at Gurgaon, you look at Delhi, you look at Mumbai. Of course, is a different case altogether. There are people who are ready to spend that kind of money for their homes.
Yeah.
And I think Hyderabad is not far behind in that segment. And so that demand will have its own, clientele.
Yeah.
So there will be people who will buy the top 5% of the economic segment. So they will be there. They will keep buying these high value homes, and I don't see it receding any further or dropping in the near
Only
future.
increasing.
It will only keep increasing because the earning levels are increasing, and in India, the way the economy is growing, the rich will continue to earn more and
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
and these are the avenues. So also what is happening is people are also now evaluating whether I go far away from the city and buy a say 20-25 crore villa, or I stay inside the city and buy a 20 crore apartment of the
Yeah.
same size.
Yeah.
So now the options are completely, the dynamics are very different. So I am seeing that the demand for large homes is continuing to grow.
Is there, if there's a category in, like, whether it's a luxury category or a senior citizen or anything, which one are you more inclined towards? If you're saying that the next step for Ramky Estates is, or like for you is to take a category up next in the residential sector, what would that be?
Definitely, it would be the senior living category, because there is a huge market out there, and also the segment where we are looking at the mid to up market segment, where we already are there and we have a strong presence. So that is the one where we would like to capitalize.
Okay.
But if I were to pick up a new residential category, obviously it would be senior living and
Senior
active adult
living.
housing. These are the two, sub-segments which I would
Could you
look at.
break down senior living a little bit, because not everyone knows what actually
Yeah,
senior
actually a
living
lot of
means.
confusion happens between senior living and elderly care.
Yeah.
Yeah, elderly care is the one where you are talking of people who in the 75 to the terminal period, but senior living is anywhere between 55 to 60 to 75, where people who are active, people have all the what you call the amenities
Yeah.
and facilities. They're active. They're moving around. They're able to take care of themselves. But there will always be some support in terms of you call it catering services, call it household housekeeping services, call it the concierge services. But they are the people who are able to live on their own, have very normal life. But it caters to a particular segment.
Just with a little bit support.
With a little bit also. But elderly care is something where it's a completely
Yeah.
a nursing support kind of situation.
Because everyone has this misconception saying
Yeah.
that when you say senior citizen living, they think it's a,
Yeah.
a center or something that.
Yeah, it's a rehabilitation. Kind of. No, it's not that. And I think that stigma is also breaking as we go along. We see so many new companies coming up, real estate companies entering into this category.
Yeah.
And the stigma is breaking. People are no longer hesitant to move into these kind of senior citizen homes, because they understand that this is the way to go. And with nuclear families proliferating, so this has become a necessity as well.
Great. So you have project all over Hyderabad, all parts of Hyderabad. So which area do you think is doing better, or like is showing more potential, or has more potential in the future?
Obviously, West Hyderabad has been doing the best, and it is continuing to do the best, and I expect it to continue for a while, for quite some time, because this is where the entire IT markets are there. But I also feel that Southeast Hyderabad, that is towards the airport and beyond, that is the market to be going forward, because I always used to feel that that part beyond the airport, around the airport, it will be the Gurgaon of Hyderabad, and that has been my thought, but somehow it has never taken off. But I believe there is a potential there going forward. And East Hyderabad also, I think, and I think one keeps one aspect keeps me surprised is half of your talent is traveling from that part of the city, this
to the
part
west,
to this part. But I don't see people setting up offices there.
Yeah.
The IT sector still seems to prefer West Hyderabad. But maybe I think now that the rentals are increasing here, there will be some at some point of time where arbitrage will come into play, and you will see IT sector also planning to set up in the Eastern Hyderabad.
And when that happens, it'll be great to be
It
spread
will be
out
great
across
for,
the-
I think this is very important, because if you, off late I've been spending a lot of time in Bangalore, And I see the way Bangalore has grown. The IT sector in Bangalore has grown. It is now not just concentrated into the Whitefield alone. It is spread all over. It is spread in Sajapur. It is spread in North Bangalore. It is spread in Whitefield. So you see multiple locations coming up, and that is good for the city because you will have multiple pockets, and you also don't have a situation where people are wading through all the way from one part of the city to another in the morning and again
and
going back in the evening.
And putting a lot of pressure on the infrastructure also.
A lot of pressure on the infrastructure. And just imagine with if your urban population, urbanization is going to say go up to 40%, the kind of pressure there will be on the infrastructure of the cities. And I don't think Hyderabad is in a position to withstand that. So we need to build alternative pockets for IT. And I think that should happen sooner or
Some
later.
are being spread, but not as much as
Not
the
as
rest
much, not
is
as
not-
much.
not
I don't think
close.
if you ask anyone outside of Hyderabad where is IT, they will only talk about West Hyderabad. Nobody will talk of any other location.
Yeah.
But that has to happen, and I think it will be more probably. I think government tried its bit, but it hasn't been very successful. I think ultimately it is the need which will drive people to opt for it.
Yeah. So in Hyderabad, the micro market itself, there's so many different things, right? Like, Kompally market is very different from, Gachibowli market. So in these, do you see any major different trends between areas, or like Uppal versus the West, or?
Yeah, I think one major difference is if you see West Hyderabad, it is more about migrant population, whereas North Hyderabad and East Hyderabad, it is less of migrant population, more of the native Telugu-speaking population. So that is one major difference between the two. And for a person who is, say, coming from a Delhi or a Kolkata or Bhubaneswar, for him it is easier to identify with the western part of the city because that is where the offices are, that is where his colleagues are. So he would prefer to buy a home in the western part of the city. So within that, if you see culturally, yes, there is a lot of difference between what you see in Kompally or what you see in Uppal versus what you see here in West Hyderabad. So in that sense, you will see the preferences are slightly different. In West Hyderabad, you would like to have a pet park in your community. Your amenities are slightly different from what you would like to have in East Hyderabad or in North Hyderabad. So there are subtle variations in the expectations, and obviously people across Hyderabad want larger homes. I think Hyderabad has always been like that. People always preferred big homes.
So just touch basing on the government. So obviously the government changed in the last year. So do you have any opinion as to what impact it had on our market and what we are hoping to see in the next few years?
See, I think whenever there is a change in government, there is always a period of lull in the real estate market because people will be in a wait and watch mode. Let's wait and see कि क्या होने वाला है, which is going to be the next government, will there be a hung government, all those speculations come into play. Sometimes people, so that there is always that small bit of period where you will see there is less action in the market. So we saw the same thing happen here as well. And naturally when a new government comes, and if the same government had come again in power, the transition wouldn't have taken longer. But when you have a completely new government taking power, then the whole transition has to happen. The new set of people come into place, so they have to get used to the system, the bureaucracy. Everybody has to align. So it takes a while, and that's what we saw here happen in Telangana also. So that has happened. I think now things are settling down, and we are seeing some momentum happening around the city.
But do you think any initiatives that the government needs to take for, the betterment of the city and the market of
I think for the betterment of the city, there are a lot of initiatives that are already underway. But end of the day, all these things have to get implemented. So unless the actions are taken on ground, so things won't change. So I think it's early days for this government for us to say whether things have gone in the right direction or not. But more importantly, I think the intent is there, which is very important to improve the city. And more importantly also the fact that Hyderabad is the focal city for the entire state of Telangana. So naturally the government's concentration will be higher in Hyderabad, and they want to grow this city. And this city is I mean, the biggest economic driver of the region.
Yeah.
So naturally, the focus will be on Hyderabad, and I think a lot of the initiatives that are being planned, once they start hitting the ground, and then I think we'll see a lot more enthusiasm in the city.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's looking forward to that
Yeah, everyone's looking
itself.
forward to, yeah.
So there are a lot of misconceptions about the real estate industry, about being unorganized, unstructured. But I believe Ramky is also known to be very professional and structured over the years. So what was the process that was taken, and like how did you keep to manage to keep this a structured company over the years?
I think the credit goes to the founder, Mr. Ayodhya Reddy, because not just the real estate space, all the companies of Ramky Group, he wanted to be run by professionals. And this is something which he believed not now, almost 20 years ago. And that is how he has built all the companies. So same way, real estate also, he wanted it to be absolutely professionally run, professionally driven. So when there is an intent at the highest level, then it percolates down to the grassroots, and that is how it happened. So we had ERP in place long back. We had all the systems, processes, everything was there was a proper structure for decision making. So all this was there. There is a full-fledged professional team which is given the complete authority and freedom to take decisions and implement. And that is how this, because of the intent came from top. So naturally, everybody got that confidence to organize. And what it helped is that it allowed us to spread wings into different cities, and it also allowed the founder to spread his wings into different sectors as well. Otherwise, if it becomes a proprietor driven, then you can only do as much. You can't spread your wings. So I think that is when I think it's a shining example of how a real estate company can be professionally run in the country. And I think Ramky Estates in that sense was, in terms of professionalism, was way ahead of many other real estate companies in the country.
So any misconception that you would want to clarify about the real estate industry that people have in general?
Yeah, I think, so I still remember in 2008 when I was planning to leave IBM and join the real estate industry. A lot of people said, why do you want to, and I was into finance. And that was the last thing any finance fellow would want to do and join a real estate, because they said there will be so much of cash dealings, there will be so much of wrongdoings and all that. But I must admit there was nothing of that sort. And when you want to run professionally, then there is nothing to worry about. So I think the whole real estate has somehow carried a very, I would say, a tainted image over the years, maybe because of some wrongdoings here and there, but because it is into the B2C segment and because it is a high investment for an individual, even a small wrongdoing gets big attention, and that is how the industry got tainted. But I think over the years we have seen a lot of transformation happen. Organizations have become more professional. We have seen a lot more regulation happening with RERA coming into place. And we have also seen, because the building bylaws and all these, the process of giving permissions, approvals, everything has tightened and streamlined. There is a lot more institutionalization that has happened within the sector. So I think those perception of real estate being unorganized, I think slowly that is fading away. Real estate is no longer unorganized. It is getting organized. We see a lot of consolidation happening, a lot of large conglomerates coming up in the real estate sector. And I think that is a very beautiful change that is happening. And I think people need not have those misconceptions that, real estate is not the right place. I am saying this for the buyers, for the potential employees, and even for people who want to enter the real estate space as promoters. I think it's not what you thought it is.
It's actually a very interesting field, because everyone thinks it's just very dry and just buying and selling. But I think there's so much that goes into it. It's,
Absolutely. I think I always keep telling real estate is much more complex than one would imagine. See, you have to deal with so many things. You have to first identify land. You have to procure the land, maybe either through agreement or through purchase. Then you have to do the designing. then you have to, while doing the designing, and please understand, it's a 4 to 5 year process. The consumer preferences can change,
Yeah.
and which is what we have seen COVID and post-COVID. So you have to raise finances, you have to do the design, you have to do the construction, you have to sell the product,
Yeah. And maintain
then
it after also.
maintain it after that. And in the entire journey, you have to ensure that the customers are with you, they are aligned with you. You have to take care of this, and you have so many approvals to be obtained,
Yeah.
and you have to run around so many government departments to get those approvals. So it's a very, very, very complex business, requires a lot of attention, lot of focus, and then only you will be able to do a real estate project. And it's fascinating in a way, but at the same time quite taxing as well.
Yeah, and as real estate industry is getting better, it's even seeing a lot of like people from other countries investing in real estate. So, are you seeing a lot of investor sales versus customer sales in Hyderabad as well, or Bangalore?
Yeah, I think that is something which is changing, and which is in a way a welcome sign, because Hyderabad used to boast of almost 95% end user sale few years ago.
Yeah.
But I think now the investor component has come down, has gone up to probably 15 to 20% over the years, which is a good sign, because which means the market is giving returns.
Yeah.
And that's a very significant aspect, and that will attract a lot more funding into the market as well.
Yeah.
So I see that changing a lot. I see the number of investors who are entering into the real estate market is growing, and also the fact that not just the bulk investors, even the retail investors, people who are buying their second, third home also
Yeah.
is growing. And if you see, the rental to capital value also is increasing in Hyderabad. So this was always below 2% at one point of time. Now it is touched 3, and in some locations it's touched 3.5% as well. Now, which is again a very good sign.
Yeah.
So we see that the investor component is growing slowly, and that's a good sign, I would say. And also very importantly is that the channel partner market also is stabilizing.
Yeah.
So even they are getting more organized, and they are the ones who actually bring the investors.
Yeah.
Bulk of the investors come through the channel partners, and if you have a strong channel partner network, then they bring in the investors. So
And
that is also
that's
getting
always
strong.
good.
Yeah, that's always good.
But is there ever a right time to invest in real estate? People, like you said, people keep waiting and watching to see when the markets are, because I think real estate is also a little bit like the stock market, where everyone's checking when they'll get their best return. But your opinion, is there ever a right time to invest in real estate?
I personally feel there is nothing called a right time to invest. You see, within a span of 3 months, okay, you may invest today, you may wait for 15 days or 20 days, but you can never time the market.
Yeah.
So that's something I have seen a lot of people try doing that, and by the time they realize that I should buy now, the prices would have gone up. And what happens when the prices are going up? By the time you digest the increase, the next increase would have happened. So you will find it very tough to. So I think the most important aspect is, if you are finding a product which is meeting your need in terms of location, size, your amenities, your whatever other parameters you have, I think you should go ahead and buy it. Because in a market like India, where the demand is going to surge into exponential level, I think the prices will keep growing up.
Yeah.
So it's a question of, maybe for a few months the price may remain stable, or it may not grow as much as you would have expected. But in the long run, it is in the medium. I wouldn't even say long. In the medium term, it is going to grow. So there's no point waiting. If you want to buy a home, go out and buy a home. Don't try to time the market.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So when it comes to your portfolio, like in the sense the real estate portfolio, how do you plan it? Like, do you plan it a 5-year cycle, or like where do you see the growth of real estate for the real estate wing?
I think we plan for, we have the 5-year plans which we prepare with the entire leadership, along with the team, sit together. They plan what should be our plan for the next 5 years. We decide which are the geographies where we want to operate, which are the product segments where we want to operate, what is the capital infusion that is necessary. So we do all this brainstorming, and then we come together and we plan for the next 5 years. We decide on the parameters, what kind of projects we want to get into, what kind of projects we don't want to get into. So these are certain strategic, so there is a strategic framework which is fixed, and based on that we tell the business development team to go and acquire the projects accordingly.
So, in the next few years, is there any particular area that's showing little interest to you?
I think Hyderabad, Bangalore, definitely these are the two markets.
But any
where we are
micro
already
markets
there.
in Hyderabad and Bangalore that are.
In Hyderabad, as I said, East Hyderabad is going to be a good market. It's a question of time. And Southeast Hyderabad, South Hyderabad also towards the airport and beyond also is another good market, what we see. I think these are the two major markets which I see. I think there are also other small pockets in West Hyderabad, beyond Tellapur and all that. They are also going to be good going forward. So, but what is more important is I would like to see lot more horizontal spread in Hyderabad, which is currently not happening because a lot is getting concentrated in fewer locations. And this is where I think we have to learn from Bangalore. Bangalore city has spread horizontally. It has gone way beyond what it was 10 years ago. And that is always good for the industry, because otherwise land values will become prohibitively high, and that's never good for the real estate industry.
But do you think land values will ever stabilize, or it's only going to be an increasing scale?
Land values will increase and they should increase, but not the way they have done in Hyderabad. I think that is I would say slightly unhealthy for the city, because what happens is from a developer's perspective, you will say that yes, prices in Hyderabad are on par with Bangalore. But if you look at it, consider the land cost and the kind of share the developer has to give to the landowner, he's actually not making any additional money compared to what a developer in Bangalore would be making, because the margins here are being eaten away by the land cost. So I think that is not something which is good for the industry. The land costs have to be normalized. And I think today, if you ask me, land costs are on a very high side.
They're very high. But do you think there's a rumor going on that the government may introduce FAR, restricted FAR, and instead of free FAR? So then, if that happens, you think then the land prices will be captured and stabilized?
I think what is more important is how the government brings in those restrictions, because again we have to also have consider that there has to be a plan behind it. It cannot be a one size fits all kind of a decision where you just say this is 3 or 2 or it has to be planned. We have to break down the city into segments and say that okay, in this location we'll have this much FAR, in this location, depending on how the infrastructure there can absorb the pressure. I think that is how it has to be. The city has to be broken down into zones, and each zone should have a separate different FAR. Then I think land rates will definitely moderate a little bit. But end of the day, we have to see that we cannot be talking only in terms of FSI cost. Now that is what is happening in Hyderabad today, because I have unlimited FSI. I am talking of FSI cost I am saying still FSI cost in Hyderabad is 1,500, like what it is in Bangalore. But you have to understand, to get the same FSI cost, I have to build twice the quantum of what I would build in Bangalore, and which increases our construction cost, and that's where the margins are going away. So I think so this is where we have to look at it.
But do you think getting restricted FSI, FAR is a good thing for our city, or it's something, like you said, obviously according to what the absorption can take, it should be done. But would you think it would be something that'll work out?
It should. It has done globally. It has done, right. So I don't think why it should not work for Hyderabad. It will work. Yes, transitionally there will be a challenge, because I have bought a piece of land at astronomical price, assuming a certain FSI, and if I don't get that. But I think one way to solve this problem is by introducing the premium FSI concept, which is what we see in some other cities, where you pay premium and you get additional FSI. I think that will solve part of your problem. But at some point of time, there will be a transitionary period where some people will get impacted, but we have to live with that.
Yeah. So in real estate generally, like in your entire career, is there something that you've learned, the biggest learning of yours in your career in the real estate industry?
I mean, I've learned enormous amount over the years in the real estate industry, and one of my biggest learning, and I think I started my career in real estate because just a few months after I joined, we had the Lehman Brothers crisis and the global recession. So we saw our sales were declining every day with cancellations outnumbering the positive sales. So one thing so it was like baptism with fire. But one thing I have learned is that you should always have a conservative approach towards real estate. Don't leverage heavily.
Yeah.
I think that will be the biggest undoing for you. Don't leverage heavily, and don't try to grow at astronomical speeds. And that is, and because if you want to grow astronomically at speeds, you will have to borrow.
Yeah.
And then that is where the real problem starts, because there will be cycles. Don't expect the good times to last forever.
Yeah.
So you should always be prepared as an organization for the bad times as well. So the biggest learning I have is that don't leverage too much and don't try to grow too fast.
Be stable and then
Be
go-
stable, try to grow at a steady pace, build the systems. A lot of times what happens is the business grows faster than the organization. The systems and processes don't catch up with the business
Yeah.
growth, and that is where the things start crumbling. And that is something which we should never allow. So the business should grow at a pace at which the organization can keep pace. Otherwise, you will always have trouble.
Absolutely, I agree. So I think we've learned a lot from you today, and like got an insight of what all goes in. But before we end, do you have any advice for people who want to enter the real estate sector or are just a part of the sector, like newly into the sector? Any advice for the youngsters or people looking at the real estate as a career?
I think real estate is a fantastic opportunity for people to grow both as a business and as well as if you are a professional. Because one of the primary reason why I say this is, if you are a professional, what I want to say here is that the talent pool here is still not very rich. So
Yeah.
there is lot more scope for good talent to grow.
Yeah.
So there are you look at any organization, you will have umpty number of places which are open because they don't have the right talent. So there is lot more opportunity for people to grow in this sector, because this has just got about getting organized into a proper shape. Professionalism is coming in, and this is where I think professionals will have a huge opportunity to grow and move very fast in the organization ladder. If you have the right intent and the right attitude
Yeah.
towards your profession. So same way, even for the youngsters who want to get into real estate business, I would say there is enormous amount of opportunity. What we have tapped is hardly a minuscule part of the nation's real estate requirements, whether it is residential, commercial. There are so many things that are happening, and this country is growing. So much of economic growth that is being projected for this country. I think this sector will keep growing. What we need here is that not the opportunist guys, but somebody who feels, yes, I want to make a mark in real estate. I want to come with unique products. I want to come with unique experiences that I can give to my customers.
Yeah.
I think so. There is a lot of space. You will see so much of technology entering into real estate. PropTech has become one big market now, and it will continue to grow. So there is so much of opportunity in real estate. You have the opportunity to differentiate. You have the opportunity today, if I may say so, to set a new rule in real estate. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think people should come. We should have more and more youngsters setting into this field, and bringing in new products into the market, much like what we are seeing in every other industry.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I feel like the next few years, the talent pool should increase, become very strong. And I'd love to see a day where 26-year-olds are the ones who are buying the apartments and the homes. And the age keeps reducing, because that shows a lot of potential and a lot of growth in early stages, right? It's rather than waiting for
True,
much
and
longer.
their expectations are also very different. They want, these people are not used to standing in queues.
Yeah.
No, I for one used to stand in a queue for half an hour just to draw my own money from the bank. But today's youngsters are not exposed to those kind of situations. So they expect a very different kind of delivery. They expect a very different kind of service. And if you see, real estate is no longer project delivery. It is now a service delivery.
And an experience.
And it's an experience. So the whole thing is, the landscape is changing. And which is where I think the new age thinkers should step in, and they should bring in a different kind of way the real estate business has to be done.
Yeah.
So I for one wouldn't believe it has to be done the way it was done earlier. It will change, and I'm sure this change is going to be very, very rapid.
Yeah, and it'll be very interesting to see how it's going to turn out and
Absolutely.
how the portfolio of all the entire market is going to change. Thank you so much, sir, for coming in today. We've learned a lot from you, and I wish we could do one more session some other time. More topics related to the real estate
Thank you.
industry.
It was a wonderful time I've spent in the last hour or so. Pleasure is all mine, and truly appreciate the initiative you've taken.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.